Russia started to develop the energy industry in the early 1900s due to domestic problems. Looking for oil in the western region of the country was Russia's priority, as the proximity to Europe was less. Their open policy helped their energy sector develop rapidly. Modern Russia strategies came following the end of World War II. During the Soviet years, they kept their labor costs low and production high. They would subsidize their oil to get more buyers, but they could have sold it for more at this time. Although they produced at a high output, they were producing it inefficiently. This would cause their oil fields to be depleted faster. During this time, they became one of the biggest suppliers in the world and were the main provider in Europe. The Soviet Union fell in 1991, and the complexion of the country's energy industry once again changed. Bad management of resources during the Soviet regime, new government allowed foreign entry into the economy. This allowed for more investment, new technologies, and better development of oil fields. Natural gas became the main energy source, while when they found the discovery of large deposits during the 1980s. What Russia does now is that they give tax incentives to companies for exploration of their Arctic oil waters. Russia today is trying to lower their dependency in oil and natural gas. They're trying to do this by developing and finding new efficient ways to extract resources and placing more investment in other sectors of the economy to diversify it and not be solely dependent on their energy. Better relations with powerful countries in Europe. Asia is also becoming a big buyer for their energy. Many oil and gas deposits. Needs high oil prices for economy to thrive. Diversification of economy will be the next big step for Russia.
Russia's oil and gas economy. In the 1990s, Russia had market reforms that privatized much of the industry and agriculture, with remarkable exceptions in the energy and defense related sectors. Nowadays, most of the Russian economy is based off of oil and natural gas. Russia relies heavily on these for a resource of revenue to run the economy. In fact, as of 2012, the oil and gas sector was responsible for 16% of the GDP, 52% of the budget revenues, and over 70% of the country's total exports. Russia's oil and gas economy today. As you know, Russia's economy is largely based on profits from oil and natural gas, the petroleum industry. The economy was stable until the worldwide price of oil began to plummet and the oil industry began to fall into a downturn. This hurt Russia because they had no fallback. They had a bad case of Dutch disease, meaning they relied heavily on a single commodity and failed to diversify its economy. What does this mean for Russia? For Russia, the decrease in worldwide price of oil means that they, the Russian government, are going to have to make nationwide budget cuts. Making budget cuts is going to affect the country in multiple ways. Interest rates will spike due to the decrease in currency value. Many jobs in the oil and gas sector will be lost. It will make it harder for businesses to borrow and spend. And with the reduced spending/budget cuts, the country will not be able to operate at maximum efficiency and provide for the needs of Russia's citizens and society as a whole. Putin's plan. Vladimir Putin, the president of Russia, is currently working to ameliorate the oil and gas crisis within Russia. Putin's main plan for Russia is to keep on track with the new budget plan they have in place and to continue to cut previously planned spending. He believes that he can solve Russia's economic crisis slowly but surely using this tactic.
Russian oil. Exploration of Russian oil. Russia produces about 60% of their oil in Siberia, mostly in West Siberia, but shifting east as of later years. The Caspian Sea is the second largest available amount for Russian oil. They produce about 2.3 million barrels a day in 2006, and a lot of other countries own the Caspian Sea area, so it's kind of iffy. The Arctic Shelf hosts potentially a very large reserve of hydrocarbons, but due to U.S. sanctions placed on Russia, they can't really explore those right now. The types of oil Russia exports, their most popular export of oil is the Urals blend, which is a heavy sour mixture of crudes with sweet crudes mixed in as well, but it varies from batch to batch and is usually sold on the market at a cheaper rate than normal oil. Their second most popular type of oil to export is the SoCal grade oil, they call it, which is a light sweet crude with a high profit yield per barrel, so it's very popular on the market. Their third most popular is the Eastern Siberian Pacific Ocean blend, or the ESPO blend, which is a fairly sweet, medium light blend crude that's mainly exported to China via the ESPO pipeline. As far as their exports go, Russia is the ninth largest export economy in the world, with hydrocarbons responsible for 68% of that export revenue. And they exported about 7.3 million barrels a day to European countries, which is 72% of all of their exports going to Europe, and most of the remainder going to China. Their foreign investments are pretty scarce, however. The only people who really invest in the Russian oil economy are the Chinese. China recently made a deal with Russia that would supply them for Russian hydrocarbons for the next 30 years. As far as those sanctions placed on the Russian oil industry by the US and European Union, the main thing that did was prevent any exportation of US materials or materials with more than 25% of US components to be exported to Russia. So that basically negated any chance Russians have of exploring further oil because they haven't developed that technology yet. And we'll see some repercussions for that in the future, but not quite happening immediately.
Russian natural gas. Russia has the largest natural gas reserves in the world. They produce 669 billion cubic meters a year, which makes them the second largest producer in the world. And they also switch off with Saudi Arabia and the US every few years as the largest oil producer in the world. Gazprom, which is a state-run oil and natural gas company, which was started before the collapse of the Soviet Union and survived till today, accounts for 17% of world production of natural gas and accounts for 83% of Russian production. Russian supply to Europe. 25% of gas used in Europe is Russian. The Nord Stream and Yamal pipeline bypasses Ukraine to transport 95 million cubic meters a day of gas straight to Germany through the Baltic Sea. However, most of the gas Russian exports travels through Ukraine. 80% of their total exports, or 175 million cubic meters a day. This benefits Ukraine as well because UKR Transgas has essentially a monopoly on transporting gas through the country. They also provide 100% of the gas consumption to Lithuania, Estonia, Finland, and Latvia in 2012. And in the same year, they supplied over 50% of the gas consumed in Bulgaria, Slovakia, Hungary, Slovenia, Austria, Poland, Turkey, the Czech Republic, and Greece.